So this was quite the episode of Dr. Stone, because I really thought if there was any character who we might start working with right away, it would be the girl who's kind of behind the petrification, but instead, Maz is an interesting addition because you gotta hand it to Gen. I mean, he stumped me. I thought he actually wasn't able to navigate this fool, but by the end, it makes him think that he's in control. And, after losing our best warrior, Koku, after last week's emotional episode, I mean, bringing in an equally impressive warrior is an interesting turn of events. And while it definitely is painting Ibara as getting killed, I highly suspect if, the worst punishment he'll get might be petrification. But at the same time, I mean, a fool like that, who knows what's going to happen to him. But by going this direction, they definitely shape the future of this arc in a more interesting direction, because it kind of felt like we lost any insider information we had, and now we have arguably the best fighter that could be giving us information. So I guess we'll see where they take it. But full live reaction to this week's Dr. Stone episode over on my Patreon. If you would like to see that, it's over there if you're interested. Now, this was a very good episode because things were looking rather good after really not looking so good after last week. Now, we get a bit more clarity of what happened with the petrification last week. I do still think they're alive, and I think our boy is going to make it because the wound and where he was stabbed is covered by stone. Now, his whole body isn't, but it does make it look like, I think they did it for a couple of reasons like this. One, they want you to be a little skeptical, like, God damn it, they didn't fully heal him or at least cover him with stone. Does that mean he's not going to make it? They want you to be a little worried, but I think given where they went, he will make it, like when he comes out of that. And I mean, it will be interesting because we really haven't seen this before where half the body was stone, half was in. I mean, granted, he's not going to be out there for, months and months and months, most likely. It might be a couple of weeks at worst. So I guess we'll see what happens there. But, it makes sense. We need someone to kind of give this information because obviously our girl knows for sure what it looks like. But if she's up there covered in stone, who's going to be telling Senku all of this information? And honestly, my guard was completely dropped. I wasn't expecting anyone to trail them, but leave it to Maz, man. I mean, he is a force. He is an impenetrable wall. Yes, our boy Taiju, he can take a mad beating, but he's not going to beat him in a fight. And even if all of them gang jumped him, I mean, there's no way, right? So the idea of going through these 3 stages, the idea of showing him some technology, some sorcerer magic wonder, to ultimately ending in a situation where we go from him considering, do I kill you or do I not kill you, to ultimately with them working together. I mean, the play was basically, you give us the stone, we help you kill Ibara and do what you need to do, rule the island, do whatever you want. And he's like, no, you guys will make me science stuff. And they're like, oh no, this sucks, only for it to secretly be the play all along. And it's really nice because I think this is what Dr. Stone does a good job at, is it would be so easy to make things look very easy for them to do. What I mean is, if we had Koku currently still fighting, and then we had Maz join the crew, they could just go solo everyone, right? Those two alone could easily, Koku could steal the stone, he could beat her up. It's just, there's no way it would be that worrisome. But by removing one of our best fighters, and then gaining one who we don't really know if we can trust as far as we can throw him, at the same time, it makes it still feel like there's threats, as he says, in a one-on-one fight, he could kick her ass. But what will happen is she'll turn him to stone, and then he'll just be smashed into pieces. So it's a bit more of a challenge. So the idea of what they end up doing, and I have to say, I love the getup that they gave Maz, is this outfit to make it look like a member of the Kingdom of Science is behind the attack. So basically, keeping Maz's identity a secret, keeping everyone alive so they can go tell the story, because right now, they don't have an army. They don't have a fighting force other than really Maz, right? They have intelligence and they have science on their hands, but they're not really a fighting force. They're someone who's working in the shadows. So by doing this, it makes it look like they're a lot more impressive than they are. And in return, it will bring out our girl and most likely try to turn them to stone. And we can see the play. It was a really intelligent episode, I have to say, because I mean, last week I thought we were in for a fun episode only for them to sucker punch me with the emotional heartstrings. And this episode, I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be a fun episode too, or at least kind of get the ball moving. And then in comes Big Boy being like, yeah, let's just go kill Ibara. And I'm like, sure, bro, whatever you say. I don't want to go against your word. I do wonder about our boy's father, though, because when you look at his statue, right, he's missing an eye and some teeth, but I wonder, would he be able to be revived? Because you can live without an eye, and I mean, it's really hard to say what the damage truly is to this boy's body, but it would be interesting if he was able to revive and, we could have a bit of a father-son reunion, because I still think he's going to end up being ruler of the island just because he is, the actual ruler's son, And in return, it will probably give him a place that he really enjoys fitting in with, potentially, I don't know. But either way, I like what they're doing with this arc. I mean, I really enjoyed what they did with Core 1, especially with the preparation, getting the boat all built and kind of setting sail. The Y-Man stuff was absolutely just shooketh, and what they're doing so far here, I do think it's in a similar ballpark to Stone Wars, but doing something vastly different. Because with Stone Wars, it felt like we're constantly taking the fight right away back to the enemy. But this time, it feels like we're a lot more limited in scope. We're in foreign territories. We don't have all the equipment that we probably want to have. And in doing so, they're really forced to think outside the box, strip down the mobile lab and make it into something else. Forced to work with the enemy, and obviously both of them are trying to betray the other at a moment's notice for their own benefit. And I think they're doing a great job, and I think this is what Dr. Stone's always done a great job with, is it always has those moments where it's like, yeah, this is anime and it's fun. You know, our girl acting like Sonic the Hedgehog can't even keep track of her arms because she's that fast at building things. Or characters with ridiculous hearing or maybe questionable strength. It's anime. Have fun and let us have these ridiculous moments. That's kind of the point of, you know, enjoying something that isn't completely based on reality. But the science, and I think the train of thought of how characters' minds works is really well written and does feel based in reality. And that's what's so brilliant about Dr. Stone and why I always come up here to talk about it. Because even if it's not currently the biggest talked about show in the West, I still look at Dr. Stone the same way I did by the time I left season 1, just saying this is truly something special and sticks out in the anime crowd, not only because of its unique presentation, character designs, and world building, but most importantly because really, when have we ever seen something that has made science this much fun? Like maybe Cells at Work, because that was also kind of cool to see what they did with that. But nothing is really like Dr. Stone, and I don't think anything will be like Dr. Stone for many years, if not a decade to come, when it does officially end in anime form. My gut says we will freeze Ibara. I mean, we could try to imprison him, but I feel like that's not going to go over too well. I feel like turning him to stone is probably the likely bet, and then just casting his ash into the ocean, making him a statue so people know, like, hey, don't mess with us, sort of a thing. But I don't know, like, it's interesting. I think this is definitely the way to go, especially after losing our best fighter. And as they say, like, they wouldn't have been able to beat him. So the only way you can beat him is by manipulating with words. And goddamn, every time I think Gen's failing, I always forget. Like, it's not like I forget, but it's like every time I see him, what looks to be failing, I'm like, well, he finally met his match. He's not able to navigate with his words. And then you see that damn grin, and I'm like, this boy, he always knows how to do it. But let me know your thoughts on this week's episode of Dr. Stone down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more reviews to this channel. And like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Third Dynasty, Arthur Kunha, Fabian Ticos, and Rain Reaver. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.